Here's a matchup. Chuck Hawkins and the Excalibur up against David Morris and the Equalizer. Smiling Dave, and you can see right there what we call the boy from Springfield, Tennessee, Smiling Dave. Chuck Hawkins in Excalibur. Chuck hails from Toledo, Ohio. His first time with us on Monster Truck Challenge. A lot of the new boys with us for the show. Excalibur and Equalizer. He's up among some of the tough ones in the country. And this young man in Excalibur can drive. He's not giving David Morris any faith. Oh, look out. You got to keep it on the track. You got to keep control of your vehicle there, Chuck. David Morris. Whoa, the Equalizer. He backs off. Neck and neck. In fact, Excalibur has the lead. What's happened to David Morris? He loses power. And in an upset, young Chuck Hawkins and Excalibur gets a win over Equalizer in Louisville. Leads us to our matchup between the Equalizer and Barely Tame. Doug Spanier and Barely Tame. David Morris and the Equalizer. Both blue trucks. One's a Chevy, one's a Ford. And right now, they're neck and neck going into turn number 1. Barely Tame going wide, but look at this. David Morris cannot make it around the first turn. He loses power. This happened to him earlier. He had a chance to come back as the third fastest loser because this treacherous track causing a lot of damage to equipment. But Barely Tame walks off with it. David Morris can do nothing but sit there and watch the Ford. But now look at this. The Ford loses power. Doug Spanier has to work to get it going again. I told you this was a tough course. As he jumps over the cars, pops a wheelie for the crowd. And the win, Doug Spanier and Barely Tame.
This is the second day of this Figure 8 endurance test that the United States Hot Rod Association is putting on in Louisville. Now, David Morris in the Equalizer goes up against David Cook and Master of Disaster, a battle of the Davids. And you're about to see something you very rarely see on the United States Hot Rod Association Monster Truck Challenge. David Morris, the Equalizer, taking the lead. This is normal for him. He comes up, approaches the cars, and instead of going over them, comes to a complete stop. And David Cook and Master of Disaster breezes by for an easy win.
We thought we had electrical problems, and it turns out that it's a fuel pump. The fuel pump locked up on that run and shut us down. We're going to put another fuel pump on and come back.
Our next matchup, David Morris and the Equalizer, back after fuel pump problems. He goes against King Crunch and Scott Stevens out of Spring, Texas. Off the line, David Morris with a great hole shot. Goes a little wide, but look at this. King Crunch has problems in turn number 1. David Morris, his first time over the cars today. What a great job. That fuel pump is working now, baby. Into turn number 3. Around turn number 4. The big boy is back, trying to redeem himself after problems in round number 1. And it's all David Morris, it's all Equalizer, and we brought him down to the final 4. And David Morris shows why he's one of the top monster truck drivers in the world. And his first time around this track in Louisville, never count the Equalizer out.
The truck runs good when it's getting fuel. After we changed that fuel pump, well, everything's working fine now, so I hadn't got to run the track until just that time right there, so I was kind of getting used to it then, so maybe I can make another pass or so and get it dialed in.
And everybody's worried about water. David Morris is worried about the ramps.
The on-ramps are a little steep and a little short, so if you hit them real hard, you're going to get a lot of air.
One's going to the finals, one's going on the trailer. Equalizer and the new kid on the block, Chuck Hawkins and Excalibur. And look at him drive. He doesn't let anything deter him. Chuck Hawkins. This guy is turning on the Excalibur. This is his day. David Morris and the Equalizer hot on his trail. He can win this when he's on the inside track. Oh, no! He blows it. David Morris cuts it short, cannot stay on the track. And it's a double upset for Excalibur. First, the Carolina Crush.
Crusher, and now David Morris in the Equalizer. Yeah! Excalibur and Chuck Hawkins. He's going to the finals in Louisville on the biggest day of his career. Off the line, they're evenly matched. And then something happens. The adrenaline gets flowing and Excalibur turns it on. Chuck Hawkins opens up an incredible lead. Now remember, he's up against the Equalizer and David Morris. And he does to the Equalizer the same thing he did to Gary Porter and the Carolina Crusher. He knocks off the Crusher. He knocks off the Equalizer. And Excalibur gets to run for the championship on this figure 8 course in Louisville.
I was trying hard down there to get ahead, and when I went into the turn, I spun the truck out, and then I just never could get enough control back to it to get straightened up where I could get some more speed going to get back in front of Excalibur, so he took the win.
So it's Excalibur with Chuck Hawkins going against Bill Weaver and Rambo in our final. As the excitement builds, the Equalizer is back. He was our fastest qualifier, got to sit out round number 1, but here he is in round number 2. The hottest truck on the circuit out of Springfield, Tennessee, David Morris in the Equalizer. Going up against Gary Wiggins and Gary Porter's Carolina Crusher. Off the line, Carolina Crusher. Whoa, a great hole shot. David Morris trying to battle back, has some problems between the sets of cars. Has to back out of it and straighten things out. And Wiggins has no problem whatsoever taking out the Equalizer.
I got her a little sideways there, and then I couldn't get my speed I needed either. He jumped out in front of me right there. He had a good hole shot, and then he just pulled me all the way down the track. I just couldn't catch him.
Ken, they're coming up to the starting line in Pueblo. The Gravedigger. Lyle Hancock handling the driving duties while Dennis Anderson is recuperating. And David Morris out of Springfield, Tennessee with the hottest truck on the circuit, the Equalizer. Green light, and there they go. Gravedigger with a hole shot. Equalizer powering back. He comes from behind. And what a great run. Both drivers pedal to the metal. Both drivers with a superb run. But David Morris digs down deep, has things tuned in, and the Equalizer is over the finish line first. Again, the Equalizer, a picture-perfect run over the first set of cars. Then mashes it down, finds the horsepower. And David Morris with the win, but not an easy one.
I knew that was going to be a tough race, and it was. I don't know how close it was, but it looked like we was real close at the end of the course there. But we come out on top, and I guess that's all that counts. Gary Cook, the owner of the truck, he made a few adjustments on the motor, and it seemed like it had a lot of power on that run.
We're down to 2 in Pueblo. Cupping Up and Equalizer. One's going to go home the winner. Cupping Up, piloted by Joey Pittman, taking over the driving duties for Pablo Cruz. And how do you prepare for a run against Equalizer?
We've done about all we're going to do adjusting-wise. I'm just cooling her off a little bit and just mainly getting ready for it mentally.
Any special strategy you're going to use?
Well, I'm not in the lane I've been in all night now. I've been stuck in the bad lane because the guy I'm racing had Equalizer has lane choice. So it's going to be a little different for me running in another lane that I'm not familiar with tonight. But I'm just trying to ignore that. I'm just going to hammer it.
And the hottest running truck on the U.S. Hot Rod Association Tour right now, David Morris in the Equalizer. David out of Springfield, Tennessee. And what's David's strategy going into this championship race?
I'm just going to try to run my race and hope to take the win. I think we're pretty close on the fuel right now. We wasn't at first, but now I think it's coming around. I hope we can take another win. If we can, then we'll be the winner of the whole deal.
As David says, let's see who's going to win the whole deal. Cupping Up or Equalizer? Thumbs up, green light. Oh boy, Cupping Up has problems bouncing around after the first set of cars, and Equalizer sails on to an easy victory. David Morris and the Equalizer winning it all in front of a sellout crowd in Pueblo, Colorado. Off the line, this guy is one heck of a driver. That's why he's got the hottest truck on the U.S. Hot Rod Association Tour. The Equalizer, your winner in Pueblo, Colorado. David Morris has got to be one happy camper. Off the line, they were evenly matched. The Equalizer with a bit of a hole shot, but right here, tough enough, bobbles around, bounces around, loses power, and the Equalizer goes on to victory. David Morris is standing by in the winner's circle with our own Jim Clark.
We was really doing good here tonight. The truck was running good. Everything seemed to work just perfect. We took that win.
From our view of it, you had them all the way.
Yeah, I got hold of the first set of cars, and I thought I had him. So I tried to make sure I just got good and straight for the second set, so I wouldn't mess up.
The last show, we didn't have the engine tuned right for this altitude, and we made some changes today, and I believe they paid off. Looked like it was running pretty decent tonight.
What were some of the changes that you did make?
Well, with this high altitude, you have to lean the fuel mixture down. You don't have as much oxygen in the air at a higher altitude. So we didn't know how much to cut it down, so we just kept cutting it down. It just kept running better.
You got a smile ear to ear. It looks like you're real happy about the win.
Hey, you like to win them. That's what you're here for, to win, not like to win.
Thanks, Ken. We're ready to go with Equalizer and Taurus. Jackie Willman and Taurus, the reigning world champion, was our fastest qualifier here. Our own Dan Danner is with them. Let's go down and check it out.
Well, Jack Willman, the #1 qualifier in that big Chevrolet out there tonight.
Yeah, it's a tough deal to get fast qualifier. It's a short track, and it's hard to get traction, and I'm just lucky to be here.
What a great competitor. Jackie Willman driving Taurus out of Granite City, Illinois, following in his dad's footsteps. But he's got a great competitor going against him. David Morris, the Equalizer, and Gary Cook's Equalizer truck doing real well on the circuit so far this year out of Springfield, Tennessee. We're all set to go in Oakland. What a run! What a run! Side by side, Taurus trying to do catch-up. Could not do it. Could not make up the time difference in that hole shot that David Morris picked up in the Equalizer. As you can see, the Equalizer with a nice romp over the cars. Side by side again in slow-mo. You can see the Equalizer has a great lead as he goes over the cars and proceeds to our next round. Your winner, David Morris, and Equalizer. The crowd in Oakland loves the Monsters like every place else in the country Monster Truck Challenge goes. And here comes David Morris in our semifinals to go against Fred Schaefer and Barefoot. Fred, what's your strategy for this run?
You're going to have to be on the light with that short track like that. If you blink your eyes, you're going to lose. So you're going to have to be on the light and hold to the floor.
And don't blink your eyes, because this guy, David Morris, knows it's a do-or-die situation against Fred Schaefer and Barefoot. One out of Illinois, one out of Tennessee. The crowd's ready to go. The trucks are ready to go in Oakland. Off the line, Equalizer is first. Barefoot trying to catch from behind. Look out, David, you got us. Oh! David Morris could not stop the Equalizer and sideways into the wall, but he's out. He says he's okay. Matter of fact, he's more concerned about the truck. The ISOCAM picks up David's run. He's up and over the cars. He is going against Barefoot. It's flat out. Pedal to the metal. But now, Dave, you got to straighten her out and stop. Into the wall he goes. On their feet, ready to go. They're pumped up, and it looks like it's going to be the smash of all times on Monster Truck Challenge. We're about to have a championship. Equalizer and Taurus. Jackie Willman, the reigning world champion, and Taurus out of Granite City, Illinois, going up against David Morris and the Equalizer out of Springfield, Tennessee. Jackie smiling there. Is he going to be smiling at the end of the track tonight? Now, this guy is always smiling. David Morris out of Springfield, Tennessee, and the Equalizer. David's been driving for Gary Cook's Equalizer team for quite some time. He knows this truck. We're set to go with the final side-by-side in Oakland. Off the line, the Equalizer had him, but Jackie Willman comes from behind for a win. Ladies and gentlemen, Jackie Willman and Taurus again running against the Equalizer. Now, you remember earlier, the first round action, it was Taurus and Equalizer, and Taurus lost with Equalizer advancing. Taurus coming back as the fastest loser. He downed the Equalizer in our final, And now, Jack Willman and Taurus become the champion in Oakland, California. You know, in our interview with him earlier, he said he knew he had problems. They had gone out and retooled the truck. They did some suspension changes. They did some engine changes. Whatever they did, it worked. Here it is, the final. The first to roll was the Equalizer. The one that stayed low, lean, and mean was the reigning world champion, and the guy who's parked right now in the winner's circle, the 1991 world champion, Jackie Willman and Taurus. The winner in
reigning world champions, Jackie Willman and Taurus, and former champ David Morris and the Equalizer. Not only is it a matchup of former world and two of the top young drivers on the circuit with David Morris and the Equalizer out of Springfield, Tennessee, and Granite City, Illinois' Jackie Willman. This is also a matchup of two of the more innovative truck builders in the sport. Gary Cook built the Equalizer. Jack Willman Sr. built Taurus. And what these two guys did years ago was start working on theories of how to get weight down on monster trucks, how to make them faster by being able to work, one, on making the chassis rides easier and smoother, and two, by getting the weight down so they go faster. These guys are innovators, and they're at the head of the pack. This time, though, it's Taurus that is able to come up with the victory in a side-by-side matchup against the Equalizer. Reigning world champion Jackie Willman comes up with the victory. We'll go isolated, and you can see Taurus actually lifted the front wheels coming off the starting line. That's not necessarily good, but it didn't cost him anything, as he had a lot of momentum when he hit the starting ramp, and the Taurus Chevrolet looks good at the finish line. Jackie Willman getting the victory on a nice, smooth run. A lot of power for the Taurus Chevrolet out of Granite City, Illinois. One more time, we'll look at both trucks on this replay. Indeed, coming off the starting line, Equalizer was dead even, but a little more power in the air for Taurus, and Jackie Willman comes out with a victory by about the length of one wheel. Taurus will go in to the semifinal round. Equalizer, though, may not be done because the fast loser out of this first round will get a chance to advance up in Oakland. The Equalizer will come out against Barefoot. The two trucks are on the track. Springfield, Tennessee's David Morris driving Gary Cook's Equalizer, and he's got to go up against that big, bad Barefoot Chevrolet. Now remember, Equalizer's back in. It's a fast loser.
I guess it's kind of like Taurus in one of the other races when I ran him. He got fast loser, so this time I get fast loser, so maybe I can get lucky like him and make it to the finals.
Well, I'll tell you what, this track, according to some of the drivers, is a little bit hectic. It's very short in the tracks. It's not always there, right?
Right. The critical point in this course is the stopping area. We're a little bit out of shape when we come off the cars, and we really haven't got a whole lot of room to straighten out and get stopped, but we're doing the best we can.
So Barefoot is ready to take on the Equalizer. The winner will meet Taurus in the final today on Super Track. Agent gets full. Look out. Barefoot's in trouble, and he pulls it down. A superb piece of driving by Fred Schaefer in the Barefoot Chevrolet. Wow. If you'll remember back to the first round, Barefoot kind of got caught up on his front wheels at the end of the run. And here he really got hung up in the reverse wheelie for a long time, but Schaefer is able to get it back down and save the truck. Here's where he got into trouble. Watch the nose go down. The front wheels catch. And now everything's on the front wheels, but he's able to power out. At this point, if Schaefer would have hit his brakes, the truck would have went over on its roof. But the experienced driver that he is, he knew he just had to stay in, give it a little more throttle. He did it, and he brought the back end down. What a piece of driving by Fred Schaefer. Not to mention the fact that he won the race, too. You'll see it right here. A convincing, full-length victory on this relatively short course over the Equalizer.
Our next matchup, the Keystone Cruncher against the Equalizer. Here's Dan Patrick out of Circleville, Ohio, and Keystone Cruncher going up against David Morris out of Springfield, Tennessee, and Gary Cook's Equalizer. Gary Cook and David Morris making up a great Equalizer racing team. The two Chevys are lined up. It's showtime in Raleigh. And I think Keystone had him. He did. He had him on the line, and he goes on to pick up the win. The Keystone Cruncher surprises the Equalizer and gets a win in Raleigh. Dan Patrick, one happy son of a gun right now. Watching it on the slow-mo cam. You can see the Equalizer had the hole shot. And so it's Equalizer back from the grave against the Grave Digger. And Dennis Anderson back in the Grave Digger against the Equalizer. The Equalizer being plagued tonight by engine problems, and Dennis Anderson comes from behind and picks up a win. Win number 2 for the Digger. A tough break and a valiant effort on the part of David Morris and the Equalizer. And the crowd loves to see the Digger. He just keeps on winning. Now, we weren't sure what to expect from David Morris. You see the puff of smoke. And this is where Dennis really turns it on. The Equalizer just can't keep up with the brand new and hot running Grave Digger. And Dennis Anderson, a force to be reckoned with here in Raleigh as he goes on to our championship round. Now, David Morris, remember, he lost to Keystone Cruncher. He didn't even think he was going to come back. He was having some engine problems. Cruncher could not answer the call, and David comes back, gives it his all, and not a bad run. But he's going against the Grave Digger after all, and hey, that's a tall order in anybody's book.
The crowd is ready, and we're ready, so let's get down to it for monster truck racing from the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome. David Morris, the Equalizer, out of Springfield, Tennessee, the hottest running truck on the circuit so far this year. He's going up against the veteran. He was last year's world champion, Fred Schaefer, and barefoot out of Pontoon Beach, Illinois. Fred Schaefer, barefoot, David Morris, Equalizer on the starting line. Let's go racing. Both drivers waiting for the green light. And they're off. Fred Schaefer with a bit of a hole shot. He comes off that first set of cars sideways, has to straighten things out. That's all the time David Morris needed to get a win. David Morris taking advantage of some handling problems that Fred Schaefer had off the starting line. You can see it right here. He's out of shape as he comes over that first set of cars. He has to take some time to straighten things out. Meanwhile, David Morris and the Equalizer comes off perfectly and over that finish line. A tough break for Barefoot and Fred Schaefer. One more time off the starting line. The tires are spinning. Meanwhile, Equalizer looking perfect. And there's the difference right there. Fred Schaefer overcorrects, goes over to the other side, the right side of the track, and David Morris, the Equalizer, goes on to victory. United States Hot Rod Association Monster Truck Challenge between David Morris and the Equalizer and Dan Rutte and Bigfoot. Both trucks want it bad. A Ford Chevy shootout, if you will. There they go. Equalizer with the lead off the line. And David Morris pilots the Equalizer to yet another win. And look, he did it in the far lane. The first truck to win in the far lane here at the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome. David Morris and the Equalizer, the hottest running truck on the circuit this season. He took out Bigfoot. The head-on shot, you can see it was a rough and tumble ride for David Morris. But the truck comes through one more time. Ken, no foots, no feet, just 8 tires on this great track here in Minneapolis. It is David Morris and the Equalizer, the truck and driver out of Springfield, Tennessee. And he talks about that starting line.
We're coming out of the hole, I think, just right, and we're getting a good start. So if we can just keep doing that, we're not really spinning too much. If we can keep doing that, I think we can take it.
He faces Lyle Hancock in Dennis Anderson's Grave Digger out of Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina. And the starting line again is on Lyle's mind.
It's going to be one of them kind of deals. It's going to stay who's going to stay in the throttle the longest in between the cars. Hopefully we can get up there and get a little bit of, jump on him on the light. The light's a real key problem here. So if you don't lead one or the other one, the guy that leaves first has got it made.
The guy that's over the finish line will be our champion here.
side by side. Equalizer, Gravedigger off the line. Look at the power that Equalizer's displaying. David Morris and the Equalizer, an incredible job of driving as he spins it around and brings home the Gary Cook's Racing Team yet another victory. The Equalizer, number one. The Equalizer took on all comers here in Minneapolis, and David Morris, just a great job of driving. Off the line, they're side by side. David Morris really turns it on right here. And look at that lead. A tough track, and David Morris, again, the hottest truck on the circuit. The head-on shot, you can see the digger side by side. David Morris gets a little out of shape, but he holds on to it. And over the finish line he goes.
Yeah, it felt real good. We worked hard to get there. I like to put the truck on its lid on the last round, but that's what it takes to win races.
You seem to have caught Lyle a little bit. He staggered going into the second set.
Yeah, I didn't know if maybe he thought we was going to collide. I think I stayed on my side pretty well, though.
Did you have any concerns when you saw the nearness of the two vehicles?
Well, I didn't know if we was going to hit or not, but I had to keep going strong because I had to take a win.
Take a win he did. Your winner, Minneapolis, the Equalizer. Here comes the Equalizer and Taurus. David Morris and the Equalizer out of Springfield, Tennessee. This guy has done extremely well on the Monster Truck Challenge Tour so far in 1992. But he's going up against the world champion, Jackie Willman and Taurus. So it's Equalizer and Taurus side by side here in Anaheim, waiting for the thumbs up and the green light, and away they go. Jackie Willman with a great hole shot, and look at this. David Morris comes from behind for the win. The incredible Equalizer, the slowest qualifier here in Anaheim, defeats Taurus. And Taurus had a lead. He had the hole shot. David Morris is just driving his heart out on this one. And he catches him in the air over the second set of cars. He takes out the finish line pole. On the starting line, Taurus with a good hole shot. Almost an entire truck length lead. He comes over the cars, bobbles. This is David Morris's chance. He turns it on and gets the win here. We talked about that trouble that Jack had in the qualifying run. Maybe it wasn't all carpet. Thanks, Ken. Here we go with our next matchup. I just can't believe the action we've seen already here today, and we're just in round number 2, our semifinals with Equalizer. David Morris out of Springfield, Tennessee, going against Lyle Hancock and the Gravedigger. Now, Hancock, he seems to have lost reverse on the truck. They're having to back him up to get him staged. This does not look good for Gravedigger. David Morris, under his own power, gets staged. Both trucks are ready. They're on the line. Look for the green light. There they go. Gravedigger with a great hole shot. Equalizer comes from behind. I don't know where he got the horsepower for that, but David Morris had to go over that first set of cars before he got any speed out of it, and then, like a rocket, shot up ahead and defeated the Gravedigger. Can this guy drive or what? Where did he find it? Did he find 2 extra cylinders on the truck? I don't know what it is, but the Equalizer and David Morris gets another win on Monster Truck Challenge. They're on the line. Gravedigger gets the hole shot. He's a full truck length ahead. And David Morris, the Equalizer, comes over. All 4 tires planted. Turns on the power and sails in to our championship round. The Equalizer defeats the Gravedigger in Anaheim. There's a problem with Equalizer, though. David Morris is coming down to join the truck owner, Gary Cook, and now Mike Speller, the track official, says, do you want us to tow you out? And they're saying yes. This does not look good for Equalizer.
Welcome back, everybody, to Monster Truck Challenge. I'm Ken Brew, and if you follow this sport, you know that this man may be the hottest driver on the circuit right now.
the man who pilots the Equalizer, David Morris. David, thank you for taking time to join us.
Thank you. It's so far this year, we've had a lot of good luck going for us. We've been running hard, running strong. We've been taking some wins.
David, how did you get started in this? I mean, I guess you didn't wake up one day and say, gee, I'd like to be a monster truck racer. Or did you?
No, not really. I started out with street trucks. I was a big street truck fanatic, lifting up four-wheel drives, and I really liked the monster trucks because that was in the four-wheel drive field. And I heard a close neighbor of mine was building a monster truck, so I went up to see what was going on, and he had it started, didn't have it finished, so I kind of built a fire under him and got him started on it, and we finished it, and ever since we've been doing real well with it, and we've had a lot of fun at it.
Where is home for you? Where do you go when you're not on the road here racing?
That's Springfield, Tennessee.
Springfield, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Now, where's that close to Nashville, Memphis, Knoxville? Where?
It's north of Nashville. It's almost in Kentucky. It's pretty close to the Kentucky-Tennessee line. It's a great little town.
Now, you probably don't spend a whole lot of time there because you invariably drive to wherever you go, and if an event, say, takes place on a Saturday, you're probably on the road Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah, most of the time we're gone in the middle of the week. When we get home, there's usually something to do on the monster truck as far as maintenance, or if something's broke, it needs fixing, or anything on the monster truck. We usually spend the 2 or 3 days that we're at home working on it, and then we're back out on the road again.
I bet you're a pretty big deal with the kids in Springfield, too. They all know you drive on the monster truck circuit?
Yeah, they get pretty excited sometimes.
Do they really? Now, tell me about the maintenance done on this truck. How often do you have it in the shop tweaking it? Between races, or do you let it go for a couple of weeks? When do you work on it?
The truck, when we're at an event, we'll go over the truck and look for anything that could be damaged after every run. And when we get the truck home, it comes out of the trailer every week, and we go over it and make sure that, or look for something. Sometimes there's something broken. You don't just see it at the event. You can find it at the shop.
David, we appreciate it. You're driving just super this year. Continued success, and I just look forward every week to seeing you.
Well, I look forward to each and every week of running.
Absolutely. David Morris of the Equalizer.
And the crowd is ready to see racing action, round-and-round racing action between the Equalizer and Bigfoot. Dan Runty up in the Bigfoot monster truck talked about a round-and-round course.
Circular track versus straight track, what do you like better?
I like this better. There's a little more, what am I trying to say, a little more competition in it, a little more driver skill in it.
And he's got driver skill. That is Dan Runty driving the Bigfoot monster truck out of St. Louis, Missouri. But his competition is from Springfield, Tennessee, the guy who's been winning everything so far this season, David Morris and the Equalizer.
It looks like maybe one track is going to be a little bit better than the other one. I think one of them's getting more air than the other track is. So I've got fast time, so I'm going to try to take off on the side that maybe gets the less air, but both trucks will have to run on both sides because we're doing a round course, so it's going to be a tough course.
Excellent point from David Morris, the Equalizer, but that starting point couldn't have a whole lot to do with it, especially with reaction time off the line. The crowd is ready, the trucks are ready, and here we go. Look at this. They're both sailing through the air, making that turn. The rear steer being used by both monster trucks extremely well. Bigfoot with a slight edge. The Equalizer having to play catch-up, and uh-oh! Look what happened to Bigfoot. He took out the turn pole. Bigfoot, Dan Runty, wins the race, but he took out the turn pole, and that's going to cost him a win. He's getting the news right now, and this is where it happened. Bigfoot makes the turn, takes out that pole. He must clear that pole. He did not do it. He came around. He does get the win. He was the first one over the finish line, but he took out that turn pole. He's disqualified, and a tough break for the big blue Ford from St. Louis, Missouri. He was looking great. He had that rear steer locked in.
David Morris was playing catch-up. Everything looked like it was going Bigfoot's way. But alas and alack, that pole tells the tale laying down. It cost him. So as you can see, Bigfoot first over the line. And unfortunately, he may be the first one on the trailer here at Providence. Round number 2 is coming up. And featured in this one, Jackie Wellman and Taurus, who describes that round number 1 race.
Well, it was a little bit smoother ride than the first time, but still not satisfied with the performance around there. I'm just going to try to do better next time.
The word from the world champion, but he's going up against the hottest truck on the circuit this year, David Morris in the Equalizer out of Springfield, Tennessee. Jackie Wellman, the world champ, he's ready. The Equalizer's ready. The crowd's ready, and here we go in Providence. They're both about even. Now the turn, that dreaded turn that caused everybody problems today. And David Morris does, in fact, have problems. He swings way out. Jackie Wellman under control. Great job. David Morris tried to come back again on that second turn. Had problems with the rear end coming about, and that cost him the win. Your winner right there, Jackie Wellman, Taurus. Look at this. Great handling on Jackie's part. The rear steer in effect. Straightens it out over the cars. Just a few seconds ahead of the Equalizer. And advancing to our final, the world champion, Taurus. Again, David Morris had a lot of problems with rear steer, and it cost him the win here in Providence. Our next matchup between Barefoot and Equalizer. Brent Schaefer out of Pontoon Beach, Illinois, going up against David Morris and the Equalizer. David Morris out of Springfield, Tennessee. We call him Smiling Dave, and he has reason to be. He's been picking up a lot of wins this year. Brent Schaefer, he was world champion 2 years ago in Barefoot, and he is trying to catch the pack in 1992. David Morris backs up as he stages for this matchup. Wife and a young daughter sitting back in Springfield, Tennessee, watching Daddy on the tube. Brent Schaefer's ready. Equalizer's ready. Equalizer doesn't even get off the line, and Barefoot is there. You gotta wonder what happened to the Equalizer. David's been running so well this year, but the win goes to Barefoot and Brent Schaefer. Gary Porter of Carolina Crusher and David Morris of the Equalizer. Here's Jim Clark with David.
David Morris, an Equalizer, with a qualifying time of 2.42 seconds, the fastest qualifying time. What's it like out there, David?
Well, at the track, the side I ran in the yellow lane seems like it's going to be better than what's the right lane is the blue lane. One of them's giving us a little bit more air, so I tried hard to get the fastest qualifying time so I can keep that lane all night and put the other guy, whoever I'm running, in the bad lane, which is going to hopefully put him in the air and put me to the finish line.
What do you think is causing the difference in the two lanes?
There's a big difference in the starting ramps down there on the cars. One of them's a lot more bulkier than the other one, and it just the right lane, the blue lane, is going to be the air shot, and the left lane, which is the yellow lane.
The guy that's holding all the marbles right now on the Monster Truck Tour, David Morris and the Equalizer. But Gary Porter, the lone wolf. We'll have an interview with Gary later on in the show. He's set to go out of Wadesboro, North Carolina. Can he shut down the Equalizer? Let's go trackside and find out as we line them up for round number 1. They're staged, waiting for the green light. There we go. David Morris going high. The Crusher staying low. And I can't tell which one did it. Which one went across that finish line first? The United States Hot Rod Association has said that Gary Porter and the Carolina Crusher crossed the finish line first. David Morris getting launched and going high, and this is how to do it. The blue lane, the lane that David Morris didn't want to be in, but Gary Porter was able to manipulate it. A nice run as he goes across that finish line and moves on to round number 2 of our Monster Truck Challenge. Now, in slow motion, both Gary Porter with a good hole shot. And he stays low. Equalizer's launched high, and a full tire length lead, and the win for Carolina Crusher. Right now, the Equalizer, David Morris, out of Springfield, Tennessee. Smiling Dave, they call him, and he's got reason to smile. This truck's been running great. He goes up against the Gravedigger, and Barefoot being towed out in the background. We'll try to go back to the pits and see what's going on with him in a minute. Lyle Hancock pilots the Gravedigger out of Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina. Gravedigger and Equalizer are set and go. Gravedigger catching up to the Equalizer on the turn now. Oh, Digger spins around and is dead. He goes dead right on the turn. Equalizer picks up the win. Wonder what happened to Lyle Hancock and the Gravedigger. The crowd seems to be happy with the Equalizer win. He's going up against David Morris. Let's go to David and the Equalizer with a tire update.
I had to borrow a spare tire from someone else because on the previous run I sliced a rear tire pretty bad, and I tried to plug it, but it still wouldn't hold air, so I had to borrow one.
This one going to make it?
I hope so. I hope I don't split it too. It's not mine.
Smiling Dave Morris and the Equalizer going up against Andy Brass and Bigfoot in Tampa. We're ready to go. Bigfoot with the lead as they both go into the turn. Equalizer around the turn first. And Bigfoot with a come from behind. And did he win it, or did I see something down on the turn? Now, the rules say that if you hit the pole, you're disqualified. And yes, it's true that Andy Brass and Bigfoot made it across the finish line first, but I think I saw him hit that pole. He comes down. Now, remember, he said he did not want to go as far around and turn out like he did the first time. He cuts it real close. Andy, yeah. He lost it right there, disqualified. He hit the pole, and Bigfoot is disqualified. The win goes to David Morris and the Equalizer. And you see that yellow tire on the rear. That's the borrowed tire. I wonder who that came from.
Welcome back to Monster Truck Challenge. Okay, now to the case of the borrowed tire. Who do you think lent it to the Equalizer? Joe Lowe may have a clue. He's trackside with all the play-by-play. Joe?
We're set for the finals in Tampa. Gary Porter, the Carolina Crusher, digging in. And talk about digging. This guy had to dig and claw his way to the championship race tonight. Gary Porter out of Wadesboro, North Carolina, came from behind, and he is right here against David Morris and the Equalizer. Now, remember, David had a tire problem earlier, but he's here. So these two guys, what is going on here? David Morris, where are you going? Gary Porter's sitting at the line. He's going, what's going on? And David Morris is running the race. David Morris, he thinks he just won it. And there was all sorts of confusion on the starting line. The guy in David's lane, in the Equalizer lane, is saying, ready to go. The guy in Gary Porter's lane is saying, come on up. The starter starts. You don't blame David Morris. He says, oh, green light, let's go. Meanwhile, Gary Porter's just sitting there. And because the problem was with the starters, they're going to run it all over one more time. This time they both get the green light. David Morris, the Equalizer, Gary Porter, and the Carolina Crusher. The turn is where it's going to happen. Gary Porter gets hung up. David Morris executes the turn perfectly, and he goes on for the win. What a great job of driving. David Morris, the Equalizer. Here's where it was won. On the turn. David does this turn exactly like it should be done. If you were going to write a how-to manual, that's the way to make that turn. Gary Porter went too wide. It was too late for him. The win from Springfield, Tennessee, the Equalizer and David Morris. Meanwhile, let's take a look at Gary Porter's run. He is having an excellent run. He's doing well. He's overcome problems to be here in the final. It's on this turn. He goes way wide. Meanwhile, hey, Equalizer's already going home, and he's still halfway through the turn. The Equalizer right into the winner's circle.
Well, that was a tremendous win for you.
Yeah, I've been struggling here all night just trying to stay in the races. First of all, I had that tire that I cut up, and then I lost a Bigfoot, but luckily he hit a